Maps of Meaning by Jordan Peterson. Introduction. Uncover how myths enable us to derive meaning from chaos. The architecture of belief. Everyone loves an engaging story. Whether it's the myths of the ancient Greek gods, Grimm's fairy tales, or the Star Wars saga, extraordinary tales of brave heroes captivate our attention, imagination, and emotions. This has been true since the dawn of civilization, but what do these stories share? And what does their shared structure reveal about the human mind and the world we inhabit? These insights argue that universal narratives, particularly ancient cultural myths handed down through generations, hold the key to understanding human nature and society. By blending mythology, history, and psychology, this work explores how our minds construct meaning, how myths convey that meaning, and the role myths play in our modern rationalistic age. Chapter 1 of 9 Humans investigate the unfamiliar because they fear the unknown. When you place a rat in a new cage, its initial reaction is to freeze. The rat experiences fear, which is entirely reasonable. It has no way of knowing if the new environment hides any dangers. Gradually, the rat will begin to explore, sniffing, licking, and scratching its way through the unfamiliar space. The more familiar the surroundings become, the calmer the rat feels. Humans, though much more complex than rats, navigate their environment in a surprisingly similar way. For both humans and rats, the world can be divided into two realms, the known and the unknown. The known represents familiar territory, the metaphorical cage we understand. This includes things we've already experienced or can easily comprehend through shared cultural knowledge. In this domain, we feel safe and at ease. The unknown, by contrast, is everything beyond our understanding, novel experiences, unexplained events, or unexpected behaviors. These are anomalies which, much like the unfamiliar cage terrifies the rat, tend to paralyze us momentarily. Since the unknown brings uncertainty, it provokes a mix of emotions. It can be both threatening and intriguing. Imagine receiving a letter in the mail with the words "open at your own risk" scrawled across it. Is it a threat? An unclaimed fortune? This scenario would likely stir both anxiety and curiosity. Whether fear or curiosity prevails depends on how unfamiliar the anomaly feels. For example, if the letter came from a trusted friend, you'd likely feel less apprehensive. Either way, you'd probably be eager to uncover its contents. Like rats, humans are naturally driven to explore the unknown after overcoming their initial fear. This process helps us transform unfamiliar spaces into familiar ones, reducing emotional tension and restoring a sense of security. However, unlike rats, humans don't rely solely on physical exploration. We also delve into the unknown through thought. In the case of the mysterious letter, you'd likely spend as much time theorizing about who sent it and why as you would opening it. Thought and action are the tools we use to turn the unknown into the known. By using these tools, we actively shape and expand our understanding of the world. Chapter 2 of 9 stories guide us in making sense of the world as a place of meaning. In Western society, we often take pride in our scientific worldview, believing that modern science reveals the world as it truly is, a collection of objective facts devoid of emotion. Yet, as we saw in the previous chapter, emotions are crucial to our everyday understanding of the world. Feelings help us determine whether something is good or bad for us and influence whether we should approach or avoid it, often without requiring conscious thought. The central idea here is that stories help us navigate the world by giving it meaning. Everything in life, whether it's the partner you love, the job you dislike, or the chocolate you crave, derives its meaning from the emotions you associate with it. This emotional or affective meaning depends on your current goals, personal preferences, and the broader social and cultural context. For instance, the meaning of a piece of cheesecake varies based on whether you enjoy cheesecake, whether you're on a diet, and whether it's offered by your grandmother or a stranger on the street. Scientifically, the cheesecake itself remains unchanged, but its emotional significance shapes how you think about it and how you act. This intertwining of facts and feelings shows why pure scientific rationalism is often inadequate for navigating the complexities of life. In the real world, where emotions and facts are deeply interwoven, humans rely on an ingenious cultural invention to make sense of things: stories. Since the dawn of history, humans have told shared stories about the cosmos, gods, heroes, and monsters. These narratives have played an essential role in human culture. The ancient myths of civilizations like the Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans, as well as religious stories like the Passion of Christ, fall into this category. From a modern perspective, it's tempting to dismiss these myths as mere superstition. However, they served a profound psychological purpose. By offering narratives about the origins of the universe, the creation of humanity, and the forces of nature, myths gave meaning to vast areas of human experience that would otherwise have been incomprehensible. For example, the Mesopotamian creation myth tells of the hero Marduk, who fashioned the cosmos from the remains of Tiamat, the dragon of chaos and mother of all life. Before her defeat, Tiamat created 11 monstrous creatures, such as vipers, lions, and storm demons, to aid her in battle. This myth provided an explanation for some of life's harsh realities, like storms and snake bites, turning the unknown into something more familiar and less terrifying. In this way, myths helped ancient people navigate the chaos of the unknown, offering a sense of understanding and reassurance in an unpredictable world. Chapter 3 of 9. All myths share a universal structure. Myths are not just outdated, pre-scientific imaginings, they are valuable tools for understanding and navigating the world. Because human nature is universal, it's no surprise that myths from different cultures share common elements. Whether it's the Mesopotamian creation myth, the tale of the Egyptian gods Horus, Isis, and Osiris, or the Passion of Christ, myths across cultures often recount a variation of the way, the hero's journey into the unknown, and their victorious return. The central idea here is that all myths follow the same basic structure. In many myths, the unknown, chaotic, primordial, and full of potential, is portrayed as the origin of all life. This force, both creative and destructive, is often symbolized as feminine. In the Mesopotamian myth, for instance, Tiamat, the ferocious mother dragon, embodies the unknown and gives her body to create the cosmos. Similarly, in Sumerian mythology, the sea goddess Namu gives birth to the earth and sky. This archetype of the unknown is often referred to as the Great and Terrible Mother. The two sides of the Great and Terrible Mother, one nurturing and the other threatening, are sometimes divided between different characters. For example, the Terrible Mother may appear as a monster, a storm, or an evil stepmother, while the Great Mother may take the form of a hidden treasure, a magical place, or a fairy godmother. Opposing the Great and Terrible Mother is the Great and Terrible Father, who symbolizes the known, the domain of culture and the structures humans have built to protect themselves from chaos. In myths, this figure is often depicted as an old king. The Great Father may be wise, fair, and protective, representing the constructive side of culture. On the other hand, the Terrible Father can appear tyrannical, oppressive, or rigid, representing the harmful aspects of culture. Caught between these two forces, mother and father, nature and culture, is the hero. The hero is a creative and courageous explorer who ventures into the unknown, overcomes the destructive forces of nature and culture, and unites their positive aspects. Consider the Egyptian god Horus. He journeys into the underworld to rescue his father Osiris. Together, they overthrow the evil Uncle Seth and restore order to Egypt. The hero's journey, a central theme in myth, serves as a compelling role model for human behavior, an idea that will be explored further in the next chapter. Chapter 4 of 9 myths offer blueprints for societal structure and individual conduct. It's no coincidence that the main characters in ancient myths are often kings, queens, or princes vying for power. Across cultures, myths were frequently used to justify the authority of rulers. For instance, the Mesopotamian emperor was seen as a representative of the mythical hero, Marduk. However, myths weren't just about legitimizing power. They also served as guides for how that power should be wielded. Just as Marduk brought order to chaos by constructing the cosmos from Tiamat's remains, the role of the Mesopotamian emperor was to maintain order in the face of disorder. The key idea here is that myths provide a model for how societies should function and how individuals should behave. Many myths explore the dual nature of the unknown, embodied in the creative and destructive sides of the Great and Terrible Mother. Similarly, they often depict a struggle within culture itself, between the protective and tyrannical sides of the Great and Terrible Father. These conflicting aspects of culture are frequently represented by different generations of kings or gods. For example, in Egyptian cosmology, the divine king Osiris embodies the overly rigid, traditionalist side of the Terrible Father. While not a tyrant, Osiris is too set in his ways to perceive the threat posed by his treacherous brother Seth, who ultimately kills him to seize the throne. The hero of the story is Osiris's son Horus, a modernized version of the old king. Horus descends into the underworld to rescue his father, finding him blind. Horus shares one of his eyes with Osiris, enabling him to see again. Together, father and son emerge from the underworld to reclaim the throne. This story of father and son illustrates an important cultural lesson. For a society to thrive, it must strike a balance between tradition and innovation. Beyond serving as societal templates, myths also offered guidance for individual behavior. The hero's courageous journey into the unknown exemplifies the ideal approach to facing challenges, not through avoidance or retreat, but by confronting them head-on. At the same time, myths often feature an evil counterpart to the hero, serving as a cautionary example of what not to do. In the case of Horus, his uncle Seth embodies cowardice and disrespect for divine order, as seen in his betrayal and murder of Osiris, a transgression for which he is later punished. By teaching moral lessons about society and encouraging individuals to identify with the hero, myths acted as a moral compass long before behavioral norms were codified in religious doctrines or legal systems. Chapter 5 of 9. Growing up involves aligning with societal values and embracing the hero within. As children, we're shielded from the unknown by our parents, who act as our guides. During this stage, we don't need mythical heroes to show us the way because our parents directly teach us how to behave, embodying the cultural values that surround them. However, part of growing up involves moving beyond the protection and values of our parents and replacing them with the broader framework of culture. The key takeaway here is that growing up means learning how to identify with the group and the hero. The first step toward maturity is learning to identify with our larger cultural group. Think back to your teenage years, particularly any rebellious phases. For many teens, rejecting the authority of their parents and embracing the values of their peer group is a natural part of socialization. This paradox of growing up lies in the fact that while we gain autonomy from our parents, we simultaneously conform to the norms, rules, and values of the society around us. Many of these societal rules are arbitrary, much like the rules imposed by our parents during childhood. For instance, in the West, adults are expected to specialize in professions like lawyer, teacher, or plumber. There's no intrinsic reason why this must be so. Humans could survive without formal jobs. However, these seemingly arbitrary rules provide a framework of meaning, helping us navigate life by dividing the world into familiar and manageable parts, keeping the chaos of the unknown at bay. The myths of a culture play a crucial role in encoding and sharing this framework of rules, norms, and values. Yet, as adults, we shouldn't identify too closely or uncritically with these cultural structures. Blindly accepting all societal rules can lead to exploitation by the tyrannical side of the great and terrible father, enabling authoritarianism and fascism. This is where myths serve another important purpose. They warn against complete conformity by encouraging individuals to identify with the hero. The hero, unlike those who uncritically conform, forges their own path and is unafraid to challenge the oppressive aspects of culture if necessary. At the same time, the hero remains loyal to humanity, and their actions ultimately serve the greater good of society. Thus, the second step of growing up is learning to become the hero of your own story. This means embodying courage, creativity, and independence while remaining committed to the well-being of others. Chapter 6 of 9. Anomalies disrupt our psyche and society, pushing us to adapt. The unknown is an unavoidable reality of life. As humans, we are constantly surrounded by things we don't fully understand and likely never will. Culture serves as a protective shield, helping us organize and navigate the chaos of the unknown. However, this protection isn't foolproof. Chaos often breaks through, catching us off guard. The central idea here is that anomalies threaten the stability of both our psyche and society, forcing us to adapt. Encounters with the unknown can be unsettling for both humans and animals. But when an anomaly is too significant to fit into our current understanding of the world, it can lead to a full-blown crisis. These revolutionary anomalies can occur at both the cultural and individual levels. On a cultural level, anomalies might take the form of natural disasters, foreign invasions, or political crises. Individually, they could manifest as the death of a loved one, a career failure, or a shattering personal realization. Regardless of the scale, anomalies demand adaptation. Minor anomalies typically require only normal adaptation, which happens smoothly and almost automatically. For instance, imagine you leave your office to attend a meeting and discover that the elevator is broken. No problem. You'll simply take the stairs, which might even feel like a bonus if you've been meaning to exercise more. Major anomalies, however, require revolutionary adaptation. These disruptive encounters with the unknown force us to fundamentally reevaluate how we think about ourselves and the world. We might have to alter our goals, values, or behaviors to accommodate this new reality. Such adjustments can lead to cultural upheaval on a societal level and deep psychological crises on a personal level. Consider this scenario. After a successful business meeting, your boss calls and informs you that she's unhappy with your overall performance. In fact, you've misunderstood the expectations of your role entirely. She fires you and suggests you pursue a different career altogether. This shocking revelation shatters your perception of yourself. Just moments ago, you were envisioning a future as the company's CEO. The aftermath leaves you in a state of emotional turmoil, perhaps even depression. But eventually, you have a breakthrough. You realize you didn't enjoy that job anyway. Upon reflection, you've always wanted to work with children. This realization leads you to update your goals and reimagine your future. This process, revolutionary adaptation, involves using anomalies to reshape our understanding of the world. If anomalies continue to accumulate, it's often a sign that our existing worldview is no longer serving us and needs to evolve. Chapter 7 of 9. Our limitations are what make life meaningful. Have you ever seen the image of a snake devouring its own tail? Known as the Ouroboros, this ancient symbol has appeared in cultures worldwide, from Babylon to Africa, India, and Mexico. The Ouroboros represents the original state of existence where all is in perfect harmony. It symbolizes a primordial reality in which chaos and order, the unknown and the known, are indistinguishable because there is no consciousness to separate them. In this state of pre-existence, the world as we know it has not yet come into being. The key takeaway here is that our limitations are the precondition for a meaningful existence. In Christian mythology, the Garden of Eden reflects this primordial state of harmony and unity. Adam and Eve, the first humans, are not human in the way we understand them today. In Eden, they don't experience death, pain, or sorrow, and they lack self-awareness. It's only after eating the forbidden fruit from the tree of knowledge that they gain self-consciousness, which separates them from the other animals in paradise. Suddenly aware of their nakedness, they rush to cover themselves with fig leaves. This heightened self-awareness comes at a steep price. For their disobedience, God expels them from paradise. At this moment, the perfect harmony of the primordial state is shattered. The world is split into opposing forces, life and death, order and chaos, good and evil. Yet paradoxically, it is at this moment that Adam and Eve truly become human. God grants them the divine responsibility to navigate this polarized world, where they must forge their own meaning. The Christian creation myth reveals an essential truth. Our faults and limitations are what make us human. Consider this. Without evil, how could we recognize good? Without the capacity to do wrong, how could we take pride in doing what is right? Without death, what significance would life hold? Life and death, good and evil, these polarities are not just inevitable, they are necessary for meaning to exist. It is the contrast between them that gives us purpose. The Christian creation story teaches us that it is both our divine right and responsibility to chart a meaningful path through this polarized world. Chapter 8 of 9. Evil is the rejection of creative exploration, and we are all capable of it. One of the most perplexing aspects of human nature is our capacity for evil. In modern times, we often explain evil as the result of psychological defects, poor upbringing, or unjust social and economic conditions. Yet, as German philosopher Hannah Arendt observed while studying the atrocities of the Third Reich, the most chilling truth is that ordinary people are capable of committing evil acts. She referred to this phenomenon as the banality of evil. The key message here is that evil means rejecting creative exploration, and we're all capable of it. Many myths, particularly religious ones, grapple with the idea of the evil that exists within us all. They often represent it as the hero's malevolent twin, the king's treacherous advisor, or another destructive force. One of the most powerful depictions of evil appears in Christian mythology in the form of Satan. Satan, an ex-angel cast out of heaven for his arrogance and grandiosity, embodies the ultimate anti-hero. In myths and literary works, he is associated with intellectual arrogance, ignorance, deceit, and even self-deceit. For example, in Goethe's play Faust, Satan describes himself as the spirit who constantly denies. But what exactly does Satan deny? In his arrogance and cowardice, Satan denies the very existence of the unknown. While the unknown may be frightening, it is not inherently evil. On the contrary, myths teach us that exploring the unknown brings growth, knowledge, and transformation. Satan's rejection of this potential for growth and learning is what defines his evil nature. He personifies our tendency to avoid, suppress, and deny the anomalies that challenge us, thus blocking adaptation, growth, and understanding. This denial of creative exploration can take two forms. On one hand, it manifests as blind adherence to culture and tradition, a mindset that stifles curiosity and progress. This path often leads to fascism, as seen in the Nazi regime, where many justified their atrocities by claiming they were just following orders. On the other hand, evil can emerge as self-indulgence and narcissism, where people shirk responsibility for the world's problems, preferring instead to lose themselves in decadence and apathy. Instead of relying on structural explanations for evil, myths help us confront the darkness within ourselves. They remind us that while we are all capable of evil, we also have the choice to pursue a different path, one of courage, exploration, and responsibility. Chapter 9 of 9. To realize our full potential, we must forge our own path. The unknown is inherently uncomfortable, which is why humans have developed countless ways to avoid confronting it. One of the most common strategies is to cling to ideology. An ideology is essentially a fixed narrative about how the world operates, or how it should operate. For example, a national supremacist believes in the story that their country is superior to all others. This rigid worldview compels them to fit every experience into their narrative, while denying, avoiding, or suppressing any anomalies that challenge it. The key takeaway here is that in order to reach our full potential, we must chart our own path. For ideologists, total identification with a particular set of beliefs replaces identification with the mythical hero. Instead of embarking on a personal journey of creative exploration, ideologists find comfort in a prepackaged view of the world. Some ideologies promote complete alignment with one's culture, race, or nationality. Followers of these ideologies often see outsiders as evil and blame all disruptions or anomalies on people from outside their group. Other ideologies go in the opposite direction, encouraging a total rejection of culture. Adherents to these negative ideologies blame others for all their problems, refusing to accept any personal responsibility for their circumstances. In both cases, ideologies are static, unchanging worldviews. Clinging to them is a rejection of creative exploration. Rather than confronting the unknown, ideologists avoid or suppress discrepancies between their rigid beliefs and their lived experiences. As Christian mythology suggests, this denial of creative exploration is a form of evil. History offers plenty of evidence to support this notion. Many atrocities have been committed in the name of ideologies, whether under fascist or communist regimes. Living a meaningful and fulfilling life, on the other hand, requires rejecting the simplicity of ideology. It means identifying with the mythical hero and embarking on our own personal journey of growth and discovery. It means acknowledging that we don't and cannot know everything, and choosing to confront the unknown with courage and purpose. As human beings, it is both our profound right and responsibility to create our own maps of meaning to guide us through life. Culture provides the backdrop for this act of creative exploration, while myths offer a model for how we can balance individuality with this journey. Conclusion. Final summary. You've just explored the key ideas from Maps of Meaning by Jordan Peterson. The central takeaway from this book is that since the dawn of history, myths have helped humans navigate the world by giving it meaning. Most myths follow a similar structure, portraying the hero's courageous journey into the unknown and their triumphant return. These stories serve as blueprints for both individual behavior and societal order. By addressing the dangers of intellectual arrogance and ideological rigidity, myths teach us how to carve out a meaningful path through life. Actionable advice. Hone your personal interests. Your unique interests are a manifestation of your natural curiosity for the unknown. Like the mythical hero, follow the call of the unknown by diving into the areas that spark your curiosity. This exploration will help you develop your individuality and create a life of meaning. Got feedback? Drop a comment below and don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss any of our amazing content.